Thanks for joining me today. I'm talking about financial peace. And I am a clinical hypnotherapist working at My Local Hypnosis in Western Sydney in Bella Vista. So, today, financial peace, I want to ask you, have you ever felt like no matter how much you earn, there's never enough money, that you're always running short, paycheck to paycheck? Are you finding yourself stressed out about money, even though technically you should have enough to live on? So, a lot of people actually do live paycheck to paycheck. It's not as uncommon as you think. And it's not because they don't earn enough, it's because of the expenses that rise to match their income. And so my dad used to tell me it's not how much you earn, it's what you do with it. And I can honestly say that I have verified that in my own life and been able to make a lot out of a little. And I have many friends that have done the same. So I want to bring this back to the book that I've been talking about, The Richest Man in Babylon. And they lived around 6,000 years ago, 4,000 years before Christ. And the clay tablets that were transcribed and analyzed and turned into that book is all about that it's not what you earn, it's the determination and the focus on creating financial security for yourself. That focus of creating financial security, it actually has to be a physical focus that you have. And it needs to be sort of focused around actually keeping some of what you earn. Now, the government in Australia has forced us to do this by creating a superannuation scheme so that we're forced to have part of, or the employer puts money away for us. But that principle, you can use that with the money that you actually get paid. And the second principle of the book is to control your expenses. And that's specifically what I'm talking about in this video. So Sydney is actually one of the most expensive cities in the world. The inflation is ginormous. The cost of rent and housing and food and transport and all of that sort of stuff creates a lot of pressures. And if you've got children, there's a lot of expectation there because that everybody has a lot of it's like, I guess, the old American image of, of people with their expectations and keeping up with the Joneses. But most people in Australia actually do not have a money problem. They have a spending problem. And I want to delve into that a little bit. So let's talk about why we struggle with expenses. Okay, so first of all, there's lifestyle creep. And that just means that the more money I get, the more I sort of end up spending. And it's the little things. It's the ice cream, the coffees, the new car that I needed when I didn't, and a new dress for an outing, or subscriptions that chomp away at your bank balance. And the problem is that your expenses increase, then financial stress stays the same. So, you may realize by now that you're not earning the same amount as you were 5 or 10 years ago. However, that financial creep, the lifestyle creep, causes us to then have the same financial stress and pressures that we had back then. So we also have a really easy access to credit, and for a long time the interest rates are very low, and so that creates like a buy now, pay later, and you just have this plastic card. How easy is it to just beep, tap that card? And it's not like the old days where you actually had your money in a purse and you had to look at it physically and go, do I want to hand this over in order to get that? No, it's just literally tap and go. So either credit or debit cards, it's very easy to spend money that you either can't afford or don't have, and it doesn't feel like you're putting in pressure on yourself, but you actually are. So it's the feeling like I want what I want and I want it now. So there's that instant gratification as well. We're not used to waiting. Now, years and years ago, I remember I had a best friend. We were both very poor. She had a process where she would lay by everything. So every week, it was before the internet and before all of the electronic payments, she would go down to the mall and she'd walk into whatever store and she would line up at the counter and pay her lay-by off. And then that's how she got things. Now, my parents taught me to never, ever lend money for anything except a house. And so I didn't pay lay-bys. What I did is I paid savings, and then I would walk out and buy the thing. Now, what that means, because when you lay-by and when you're paying on credit, your selectivity on what you're buying will be less scrutinized, because for me to actually save up that money, it's given me like wow, now I've got like $400. Am I still going to go out and buy the same things? I'm probably going to buy less. So number one, do not use credit for anything that is not life-threatening. So the Sydney standard of living is quite high. People have a lot of lifestyle stuff. There's cafes, restaurants, gym memberships, fashion, technology, the latest phones, and all that sort of stuff. My phone is like an iPhone 12. I don't keep up with that. I'm wearing a Kmart t-shirt. You may be able to see that, and I just don't delve into that stuff. It is important for some people. I went out to a coffee catch up with a group of women recently, and I sat there next to a lady. She told me about how she had all her lashes and injections and her hair and everything. And she said, I like your dress. And I said, oh, it's probably from Kmart or Shein. And she went, no. No, and her daughter was next to her and she goes, oh my gosh, you've started my mother off now. She would never wear anything from Kmart or Shein. If you know who you are and you've got confidence in who you are, your clothing does not make you. So just as long as you're clean, presentable, and, all of that stuff, you can look really good for not too much money. So let's go into the next step, which is distinguishing needs from desires, because do I want it or do I need it? So the key wisdom from the Babylonians was that most people confuse necessary expenses with unnecessary desires. So there's an actual quote that I want to say, and I'll read it off my screen. That which we call necessary expenses will always grow to equal our income unless we protest to the contrary. And that's out of the book, which was last published in 1955. So the English is quite different. But basically, it's just saying that what you think you need is going to grow to match your income. So you need to measure and track what it is you're buying to control your spending. That which cannot be measured cannot be managed. So you need to track and measure what it is you're spending. So I have a personal principle that I use when I'm buying anything, and this is from way back when I couldn't afford something. I remember going to Liverpool Westfields, and there was this black skirt, and it was $20, and I thought, do I buy this skirt? Do I not buy this skirt? I think I had $60 to my name, so it was a third of whatever I had left. I probably had a few days left till payday, and I really struggled with it. And one of the tests for me to buy something is, if I already owned this item and someone offered me money for it, so in this case, if I owned that skirt and someone offered me $20 for it, would I sell it? Now, I had a very, very narrow wardrobe. I probably had 3 outfits back then. I did not have a lot of money. I had a boyfriend that had a marijuana addiction, and all our money went on either food, rent, or cigarettes and marijuana. So it was very hard for me at that time to be able to afford anything. And I did buy that skirt, and I think I wore that skirt for 10 years. So I definitely got my worth out of it, because it was a long black skirt and I was able to put any kind of shirt with it. So that was good. Now, but that question that you need to ask yourself, if somebody, and let's just hold something up that I've got on my desk, like even if it's just like this, my AirPods. Okay, so at the moment I have room to purchase AirPods in my budget, but I have to ask myself, if I owned these AirPods and somebody offered me like the 250 or however much they cost now, would I sell them? Now, at the moment, my answer is no. If I had financial stress, my answer actually would be yes. So I would not buy those. So here's some other practical ways to control expenses, and these are things that I've done myself. Now, like I said, nothing can be measured if it cannot. No, nothing can be sorry, nothing can be managed if it cannot be measured. So what I did is I got just a lined exercise book. I made columns, the date, what I bought, where I bought it from, how much it cost, and then I guess the thing is to categorize it. Is it a need, or was it a want? So need is, I need food, I need electricity bills, I need rent over my head, a roof over my head, but I don't, for example, need a new pair of shoes if I already have 2 or 3 pairs of shoes. So it's a need or a want. So you write that out. And I'll tell you what, I could not believe when I did this. The last time I actually did this exercise was back in about 2003. And I just remember looking, because I actually categorized it all into categories. So I did, was the expense for car or house or kids or food or whatever, and I categorized everything. Actually, I lie. I do this every year for my tax. I go through my bank statement, I code everything, but it's for a different reason. I do it so that I can pick out all the tax deductible stuff and all that sort of stuff. But in there, I can see like I spend, $3,000 a year on food, and I spend X amount on the dog and the kids and all that sort of stuff. So it is interesting to look at, but I don't look at it weekly. So looking at something annually isn't going to give you a benefit. You need to look at stuff in short, regular things. Like if you do weekly pay, then look at it weekly. If it's fortnightly, look at it fortnightly. Otherwise, monthly if it's monthly pay. So you can visually see, oh my gosh, look how much I'm buying that I don't need to buy, the coffees or whatever. That gives you a focus on and mindfulness on your spending, and it will make you think twice before you buy that cake, that coffee, that thing. Sometimes I'll be out and I'll think, I'm a bit hungry, and I think to myself, well, you know what I mean? Like you're going to be home in 10 minutes, and you can make yourself a sandwich at home, so much cheaper. The other thing you'll start to do is when you realize that you're spending like $15 a day on lunch, you might start to pack your lunch because you don't want to see that looking back at you when you're going through your budgets and your expenses. So categorize everything into three categories. Essentials is your rent, your electricity and utilities, your groceries, your transport. Your wants are your dining out, your socializing, coffee with friends, shopping, entertainment, subscriptions like Netflix, etc. And then luxury is like all the avoidable stuff, like whatever you don't like, whatever's not really bringing you too much value, or that you could live without or defer, like perhaps a holiday. Luxuries like a massage, for example. Unless you've got a chronic muscular problem, you do not need a massage. It's just a luxury. So luxury things can be chopped right out. So places to cut is obviously dining out, but even when people cook at home, like I noticed that the difference now in what they're selling at the supermarkets, because people are not really going towards the cheaper end of stuff. So you can cook very, very cheap meals at home. Very cheap. You can save thousands of dollars a year just by cooking at home and not cooking with Marley Spoon or HelloFresh, cooking it yourself, being able to just learn some cheap recipes. And I guess I should give you some at some point because I do have a lot of them as well. So subscriptions, like stuff you're not using, go through your bank statement. I remember my son, he's 31 now. He had a girlfriend, and the first thing she did when they met was went through his bank statement and cut out all his subscriptions. And she said he had a subscription to like Tinder or something like that. And he goes, "Oh, I didn't even know." Yeah, right. But anyway, she cut out all those subscriptions, and just like use that Naomi test of would I sell this before you make any impulse shopping. So easy, laying in bed on your phone and you see this thing pop up, you're like, oh, that's really cool. It's only $49, blah, blah, blah. Can't wait to get it in the mail. No, you don't. You don't need that clutter in your house. Like honestly, like seriously. Stop using credit for non-essential stuff. If you can't buy it in cash today, that means you can't afford it. It's like living within your means literally means living with what you've got. Now, principle number one is put 10% away. So you're going to be living on 90% of your net. Then that's what you need to live to. And that's it. And you'll be surprised how easy it is to do that. I've noticed smokers that can spend $100 a week on cigarettes still manage to live after they've paid for their cigarettes. And it's the same for alcoholics and every other kind of addict. They still manage to live. So you can also live without that 10%, put that away in the bank, budget with the rest. So only borrow money if it's going to make you more money, right? So you only borrow money for investment type stuff. My rule is real estate. I only invest in real estate. So I only borrow for real estate. Spending limits. Now, there's a 50-30-20 rule. 50% needs to go on your needs, rent, food, utilities, transport, as we said before. 30% can go on your wants, like your hobbies and your shopping and your eating out. And 20% needs to go onto your savings and your debt repayment. So if you have debt, like that's above your mortgage, which is for your living, then you need to be paying that back. And you need to go and make a list of all your debts and make an arrangement to pay those off. And if you If your expenses exceed 50%, you need to reduce the wants, reduce the enjoyment, the entertainment. Now, there are lots of mental health benefits to living like this, to controlling your expenses. Like it's like any discipline, it's a habit. When you do it, it feels good. If you go to the gym every day, you'll feel good. If you control your spending, you'll feel good. And you don't have to become a frugal freak of nature that, only drinks water in cafes. But what you can do is just make smart choices. So when you are tracking your spending and being able to stop impulse buying, you will feel more in control. Now, control is power. Power is the source of safety, and safety is the cure for anxiety. Financial stability equals mental stability. Like it's like that thing, if you want to know where someone's at in life, look at their room, their desk, their car. Look at their finances as well. If you are completely wildly undisciplined in your finances, this is a good place to start for your mental health. You will feel more confident, more at peace, out of that cycle of debt and spending and that dopamine hit that you get from buying, because it's like a really short-term fix and doesn't really make you happy. Happiness isn't in what you own, or it's what you have on the inside, not what you have on the outside. And make sure that you've got that money put aside. So you've got that fallback. Anyone that's got a little bit of money put aside is going to have some kind of sense of peace. And these small changes you make today are going to really impact your future. No matter how old you are in this moment, your future needs the you of today to actually plan for it, to be there for it, to make provision, to provide for yourself. So control your money, control your spending, plan for the future, and use some of these strategies to get yourself financially on track so that your anxiety and your depression will have less top shelf. Gaining control of that one area of your life is going to give you back so much more freedom on the inside, working with your feelings of self-worth, your personal power, all of that kind of stuff. So all those principles that are in the book, the Richest Man in Babylon, all of those principles, and we've just talked about principle number 2 today, and a little bit about principle number 1 with the saving aside your 10%, they still all work today. You control your expenses and your money anxiety will fade. And the secret to wealth, and I promise you this because I've lived it, is not earning more. I have never, ever had a big income in my entire life. Never, like at all. The biggest salary I have ever earned was $100,000 a year, which in today's economy is not huge. And what I've done with that is use these principles, put money away, invested it to make more money. And so it's about that smart spending. And the final takeaway is, please ask yourself, would I sell this item if I owned it? Use that test before you buy. And look, if you'd like some help with anxiety and depression, if you have mental health issues, if you've found yourself buying things to make yourself happy that has not landed and you're still feeling like life's not worth living or not feeling fulfilling, you've got that anxiety, you're waking up crying, you're not feeling good, you're wondering what the future holds, then feel free to reach out. I'm here. You can book a session with me. 2 days a week, I see people and I work with people to break free from anxiety, depression, PTSD, and all of the stuff that holds you down in your life. So that's me. Thanks for watching.